So, email add source, HRMS. Email add save right. I think this is enough for just to show you. So now, if you refresh this data, you will not see those changes. We have to irrigate the data. Only when we perform the irrigation, only that time this mapping execute. So go to task. Execute in background. This is done. 156 identity updated. Refresh this user. Now you see first name, last name is coming up. If I go to Identity Warehouse, you will see this first name, last name, for all the users. You see here. You can open any user, you will see all this value first time, last name. So as of now, we have only defined mapping for 3, so for 3, it's coming up. Okay, now I'll go back to here identity mapping. I'll provide a for display name, add source. HRMS full name, add, save. Same for inactive. We had this status here, whether user is active or inactive, right, true or false. Okay, so you'll use same thing to populate whether user is active or inactive in Sailpoint HRMS. Inactive identity save. We have defined mapping for this same for manager. We do have this manager field, but I will not show you as of this, because I'll show you the complete concept regarding the manager. Okay, so simple. Provide one additional feature regarding the manager. So this is done, right? Now we have defined the mapping. Now, running the irrigation, we verify that all the user employee data is populating here right now. What about the extended attribute? This is called extended attribute department region, which does not come with your system, right? Which, that is, that or that are called extended attribute. So we have to create this extended attribute here. So, in order to create extended attribute, go back to again same setting, global setting, identity mapping. Here click on this button add new attribute. Here you will see two things, attribute name and the display name. Attribute name is what Sailpoint will save internally. Display name is just for display purpose, for example department. So we want to use department display. Name can be anything, so we'll use this department here, okay. Same time, let's define the mapping here. Right, we have this department, so let's define the mapping here. In Sailpoint. Add source, HRMS application department. Add save department. Attribute is here. Okay, now same way we can create for the region, right click. Copy this attribute. It's up to you. It's not mandatory that you have to copy. You can use like @region. @_region. Attribute its core region. Anything this will be saved internally, basically. Okay, and for display purpose, what will be visible to us on the display and provide this source mapping. Add region from HRMS application. Add save this. Okay, this is done. Okay, this is done. Now go to task to aggregate the data again for the new attribute, done. Aggregation is completed successfully. No error, no issue. Now go back to Identity Warehouse. Refresh this. Open any user, but you will not see department and manager here. Okay, so what is the reason why we are using this attribute? The reason is, you can sequence is that you can define n number of attribute here. Okay, but it's not mandatory that you want to show all those attributes here on the first page. Okay. So whatever attribute you want to show on the first page, you have to use one setting, okay. So generally here we create a lot of attribute, like 50, 60 attribute, but here we only show, like important attribute, main attribute, like maximum 15, 18, 20. Okay, because otherwise if you show 60 attribute here when you open the CZR, you have to scroll down to see what are the attribute value. So only into important attribute value which we show here on the screen. Okay, now, same time, I'll also show you one thing. That is another console. This is one console, admin console, and this one more console that is called Debug. Just type after your application name, this is your application, right? Remove this, whatever you are. Just after ndx/, just type debug, enter. This is a different console, totally different console. This is object browser, as you can see here. Now here, all the object in Sailpoint is stored in XML form, right, user application, roles, groups, policy, everything. Okay, we have not created roles and policy and groups that will, create incoming exercise, but everything will be changed in the. Everything will be stored in form of your, XML. Okay, now here, if you see, we have select an object, we have different type of object here and filter by name or ID. So if you select identity here, the select identity, you will see all those identity here, what you can see here in the identity page. Okay, all the same ID. You can click any ID. It will show you the XML, how the Sailpoint store this data in XML format that is visible to here. Okay, same thing for the same thing with the application. We have one application here, as you can see. Select here application type. You'll see one application. This is our HRMS application. You will see all the detail. Whatever you see here in this page, that is generated from the XML. You see file path. You see admin SP, admin owner. This is a schema, okay, so basically, this is the actual object. When you click on this application from the actual object Sailpoint, populate all this value here. Okay, now what I was trying to show you. Yeah, identities. We created mapping for department and region. So if I open an arrow, Nicholas, you see department values coming up here. Region value is coming up here. It is not coming up here on the first page. Okay, so for that, what we need to do, we need to go to debug page again. Okay, open one setting that is called UI config, UI configurations. Open this, search for identity. View attribute identity. For each UI purpose, Sailpoint created multiple entries here. So for this particular piece, the entry name is called identity view attribute. This is the list of those attributes, which will be visible here. Okay, so now we want to add our attribute, so we'll simply add department. And just follow the sequence. So let's say after email, if I put region, comma, all this value are comma separated. Okay. So whatever value we have, and we have one here, type. If I want to remove type here, simply remove type from here. Simply save this. Refresh this user. You see, type is removed. Defined department and region are coming in the sequence. So data was loaded, it was not visible here. So, using this configuration, we added those attribute. Now it will be visible here, so this is one entry key. Whatever you will show, whatever attribute name you will put here, that will be visible to us. But it doesn't matter that in the backend Sailpoint only carries on all this attribute values that we can see on the first page. In the backend, it stores so many things. It's just what we want to show here in the first page. We can decide from this key. OK for each object like a user application. Right, Sailpoint has this setting here, identity mapping. Identity mapping is basically a skeleton what attribute a user can hold. So for same thing, you can see one file here in the object browser. I'll go to the object browser. That object name is called object config, object configuration. Basically here, these are the total 8 type of files now out of this, if I have just modified right. That's why it's showing this time. If I click on this identity, you see this. These are those attribute we have here in the Sailpoint system, first name, last names. You know all this, and these are the mapping I define how this display name will come. This will come from the HRMS application. So this is that blueprint. You can say, based on this actual data generated, and this is the schema really. Basically, you can say, this is a schema correct. You can say, this is the scheme of Sailpoint user. Right, okay. I think a lot of work is to be done in the Object Explorer and, as you go, and, as a configuration person, generally, we do confession from the object.